we can see a reaction to Alex Chalk losing his
duly elected
seat
as
in
the Member of
Cheltenham.
Parliament for Cheltenham constituency.
Well, Alex Chalk, Cheltenham was a Liberal Democrat seat, is a Liberal Democrat seat again. First cabinet minister, serving cabinet minister to lose his seat. Not good news for you. He's a friend of yours, George, it's fair to say, is it?
Alex was my research assistant and then became Lord Chancellor, as the way of the world. He's a very nice guy. He's very much on the kind of liberal end of the Conservative Party, would have been an important voice arguing against just heading down the kind of reform rabbit hole. But sadly, he's lost. I mean, he just clung on last time, so he's always been highly vulnerable.
And I do hereby declare that Andrew Allen Lewin is duly elected as a Member of Parliament for the Welwyn-Hatfield constituency.
Grant Shapps gone, second cabinet minister. It wasn't even in the end, really very close. Before we really talk about anything else to do with that, he did, when I say cabinet minister, he might have been all cabinet ministers since he held pretty much every cabinet post in the course of his career. Let's just have a look. Colin, would you mind just talking us through this? I was going to look at the change in the share of the vote first, because let's just see what's happened. That's the overall. Let's have a look at the change.
Surprising result in the context of the night, frankly, Tom. Again, we see what we've been seeing, the pattern. The Labour vote is up to a degree. The Reform vote is up by more. And again, as Jane was saying, this is one of those seats where the Brexit Party would not have contested in 2019. I think Grant Shapps, in his heart of hearts, would have known that he was, he was toast before the election was called. Really.
I mean, I think he did know that, but he's still a very significant defeat for the Tory Party because he was one of the most. There aren't many Tory ministers at the moment better known than Grant Shapps.
Jonathan Ashworth, key shadow cabinet member, we think has lost his seat.
That's it. Has lost his seat.
Has he lost his seat? Okay.
We just saw a seat in Leicester East, which is a Hindu seat, go to the Conservatives, Hindu Conservative candidate. This is Leicester South, a big Muslim seat. This is a Muslim independent anti-Gaza war candidate, has beaten Jonathan Ashworth, who, of course, be expected to be one of the big Labour figures in the next cabinet.
It feels like this is big, not just for tonight, but because it's going to give an indication of the problems that Keir Starmer may have as leader, right?
This is very significant and very bad news for Keir Starmer, because it shows that his ambition of unifying the nation, which is, what he constantly says he wants to do. He's got this phrase, country first, party second. At the moment, it's singularly failing. There are big and important communities who would traditionally have supported the Labour Party who are rejecting Labour, particularly over Keir Starmer's stance on Gaza.
I mean, we have to say, though, that still the largest proportion of Muslims are supporting the Labour Party. It's just that it's...
But it's still Jon Ashworth would... under your exit projections, Ashworth was supposed to win.
Definitely. We talked about Greens and small parties earlier. I think Labour was worrying about Shabana Mahmood in Birmingham, Ladywood, Thang Debonair in Bristol Central, Rishanara Ali as well in East London. Jonathan Ashworth, though, was not on the radar of where the risks were. I mean, and it's not something that I had heard talk of. And, I was saying earlier with the Chingford seat, that Keir Starmer's people, I said to you, that they will think it's a price worth paying, but actually it may be quite a big price, which Keir Starmer is going to pay in this Parliament. So these tensions are going to grow.
I'll tell you one thing which is quite interesting about this, because I've obviously been talking to Labour a lot about the actual mechanics of the campaign. I suspect one of the reasons Ashworth has lost is because it wasn't on their radar as a seat that was at risk. They only had limited resources and they ploughed them into the seats they needed to take from the Tories in order to get over the line. And I suspect what happened was they sort of thought, it's, Ashworth's a done deal, we don't have to worry about it.
I mean, I think, look, first of all, I feel sorry for him because he's run this campaign. Yeah. He's a bit like Chris Patton.
Yes.
30 years ago, helps mastermind a win and loses himself.
Being unmarked or wholly...
Jillian Keegan not out by a bit. That is a pretty overwhelming result. There was a lot of discussion that Chichester would be pretty close, that even in a big swing election that she would lose, but, you know, and that's a big loss.
Again, somewhere where there's been some local government activity by the Lib Dems, which is often what they do to build up their performances. We've also heard that Wokingham, John Redwood's old seat, has gone to the Lib Dems. But even for me, an interesting thing about the Chichester result, if you wander down to the English Channel in Jillian Keegan's ex-constituencies and gaze out south across the water, you will find the Isle of Wight.
It's not the outcome we wanted, but clearly the people have spoken across the country and here in Chichester. I admire anybody who puts themselves forward to stand for Parliament, but we all understand how the system works, albeit it does appear more volatile than ever.
Jeremy Bernard Corbyn, commonly known as Jeremy Corbyn, independent, 24,000.
This result is, to me, a resounding message from the people of Islington North that they want something different, they want something better, and in the new government that's coming in, they're looking for an end to things like the two-child benefit policy cap. They're looking for regulation of the private rented sector. And if I may say so, they're also looking for a government that on the world stage will search for peace, not war, and not allow the terrible conditions to go on that are happening in Gaza at the present time.
Penelope Mary Mordaunt, commonly known as Penny Mordaunt, the Conservative Party candidate, 13,715.
Penny Mordaunt is out. Let's wait and see what she's got to say about it here, but it was pretty close in the end. Let's just have a look. Colin, can you just talk us through the change in the share of the vote here if I bring it up?
Well, again, rather what we've been seeing all night long, I'm getting rather, bored saying this to you all, that the Conservative vote is down by almost a half, from 61% down to just 33%. Labour's vote up a little bit, 8%, but enough to see them through the top, and Reform not having stood here as Brexit in 2019, as Jane's been reminding us all night long, quite rightly, get 20% of the vote, and Penny Mordaunt can claim, I think with some justification, that they have cost her her seat.
And not much tactical voting there from the Lib Dems or the Greens, which you would have expected to help Labour a bit. So it really is a large story about reform.